Hello, darlings. How are you? I am Demetra K, and I'm sitting here next to Donovan, the recovering Democrat Saadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner. His team, they took it in the keister today, but I won't rub it in too much. Anyway, the purpose of the Demetra K show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Like I said, big giant thank you, hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. Also, thank you to my wonderful moderators for everything that you do. I could not and would not do this without you. I know that I was not here on Thursday, but listen, your girl, Glodadine, y'all know that's what they call me. I think that's what I call myself. I was tired, okay? I was like, I'm a little burnt out, so I might have to peel back a day, because it's just, when I was on here Wednesday, I was very loopy. I was like, I don't even know what I was saying, to be honest with you. That's how tired I was. But anyway, I don't care about any of that. Today, we're going to be talking about California Governor Gavin Newsom approving Reparations agency for descendants of slaves in California. So I guess we're going to ponder a couple of questions. Did he do it? And did he really do it? And what does it all mean? Donovan?
All right. Welcome back, you guys. Hey, you know what? You guys can talk about the Dallas Cowboys all you want. They are consistently losing to the teams that they should be beating. But it is what it is. Like I said, I wasn't surprised, but Demetra's going to try to smash it all in my face because I'm a diehard Cowboy fan. She said, remove that hat off my show. So anyway. All of that money they pay these guys, and the Dallas Cowboys play to the level of the team that they're playing, and that's just the facts of the matter. Welcome to the show, you guys. It is 3:00 here in California, which means that it is Demetra K time. We know you guys can be going anywhere else to watch football, or go eat some tacos, or wherever you guys are going to go, or go help remove some illegal immigrants, however you guys want to do it, but you guys chose to be with us right here. So we really appreciate that. Do us a favor. In order to keep these great conversations going, we have a scrolling banner at the bottom there. It's in the blue and white. You see it. It says, please donate if you like. You can do that by Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Cash Money, or whatever. Or just if you feel like it, order Demetra a Coke or a coffee. Everything is appreciated, and it keeps us motivated to keep doing the show. Also, don't forget about the African Diaspora News Channel app. You can get it on Google Play, Apple Store. The great thing about the African Diaspora app is this. Everything that you see in your algorithm on YouTube isn't what is on the app. There is original content on the app from the individual contributors, as well as other talking shows and points that you will not see on YouTube. It's exclusive to the app. So please, if you guys are interested, like, share, subscribe on your groups. The African Diaspora News Channel app, you can get it on Google Play, Apple Store.
That's right. Almondo, how you doing? Says, take the money, yes, but don't start supporting her because of this. She only cares about your vote. I don't know who. Okay. So let's see. Arniba, how you doing? All right, so let's go ahead and get into it for the sake of time. So, of course, I didn't know if you guys heard. There's been so much conversation about reparations this, reparations that, all over the United States, and especially California. California kind of got a little bit more attention because it sounded as though there was going to be, a reparations issue. Of course, you know that in 2020, there was a commission fashioned, and there was a whole bunch of people from all over sitting on a commission, and it took about, 4 years or so for them to determine what would be necessary. Of course, you guys remember infamously around this time last year, the California Legislative Black Caucus was supposed to take some reparations bills to the floor for either Gavin Newsom, the governor, to veto them or to pass them, right? Well, neither one happened because what they did was nothing, right? Now, y'all remember Assemblyman Isaac Bryan. He was the one that had his arms crossed, and he was going back and forth with, at the time, Assemblyman Bill Esseley, who was now working for the Trump administration. And they got busted doing nothing. As you guys know, there's a whole host of Black Californians in the vestibule waiting for the good news to see what would happen. But again, nothing happened. So the summation was that they being the California Legislative Black Caucus, was blocking for Big Daddy Gavin Newsom so that he wouldn't have to veto it, because that was kind of the word that he was going to do it. But hey, y'all, just Y'all do what y'all need to do, so I don't even have to do it, right? Anyway, so let me put this up here. So this is the new headline that basically says Gavin Newsom approved slavery reparation agency. The California governor signed the bill 5 years after he created a task force to study how racist policies have affected descendants of slaves. So in a little bit more detail, it says SB 518 would establish a bureau for descendants of American slavery within or under the California Department of Justice or civil rights apparatus to implement reparative policies and benefits. The bureau would have multiple divisions, including a genealogy division, property reclamation division, education and outreach, and legal affairs division. One of its core responsibilities would be to verify who qualifies as a descendant, quote unquote, of U.S. chattel slavery, and require proof of descendant status as a qualifying criterion for benefits that the state may authorize. Now, for those determined to be deposed owners, for example, whose property was wrongfully taken via racially motivated eminent domain, the Property Reclamation Division could accept, review, and investigate applications and determine whether compensation or restitution is warranted. If a state or local entity that took property fails to provide compensation when required, SB 518 would allow a claimant to bring a legal claim for compensation. Implementation is contingent upon appropriation by the legislator. Example, the law doesn't force spending until funds are allocated. The bill includes findings and declarations regarding gifting public funds, new duties on local entities, and state reimbursement rules for mandated local programs. The bill also expresses in its legislative intent that as the Bureau's scope grows, it may advise on reparative remedies to address broader harms of segregation, exclusion, discrimination, etc., affecting both descendants and non-descendants. Okay. Now, descendants are defined as individuals who can establish direct lineage to a person who, prior to 1900, was subjected to U.S. chattel slavery and who meets one of several enumerated criteria: emancipation, fugitive status, military service under restricted status. The bill also includes free Black persons living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. In its earlier versions, though later versions refine the lineage-based definition. As of its enrolled status, SB 518 was passed by the legislature, Democrats mostly, and presented to the governor. It is a part of a package reparations-oriented bill. For example, SB 437 works in tandem with commissioning genealogy research. Now, here's where we get a little bit more into the opposition. SB 518 faces several criticisms for civil society groups, legal experts, and grassroots advocates. Key objections include critics argue that SB 518 is tied to SB 37, which commissions a genealogical research in a way that delays implementation indefinitely. The Bureau cannot fully function until the genealogical methodology is in place. Thus, reparative benefits get postponed. So basically saying that, one bill, so the establishing a genealogy has to be put in place first before they do anything. Otherwise, they're saying it just will stall. Now, some argue that instead of delaying more research, the state should move to reparations without existing knowledge. So basically, we don't need to keep on studying what we already know. Now, strong concerns have been raised about privacy of genealogical data, genetic information, and how the data might be stored, disclosed, or misused. Some opponents are alarmed that the Bureau would be housed under the Department of Justice, a law enforcement body, increasing risk of surveillance or misuse. Opposition testimony warns that genealogical and DNA records are sensitive. Critics say the bill has no protections at all for privacy in its current form. Some legal analysts, for example, Pacific Legal Foundation, cited in analysis, asserts that restricting benefits to a class tied to ancestry and effectively race may trigger strict scrutiny under equal protection law and might not survive a court challenge. So basically saying because they could say, well, it's really about race and not lineage. They could say, well, per the Constitution, you can't do that. Now, opponents also argue that even though the bill claims lineage rather than race, in practice, the classification is a proxy for race, which raises serious constitutional questions. Now, closing up here, says some grassroots reparations advocates say SB 518 was drafted without meaningful input from community groups that have long advocated on reparations. They assert it deviates from the California Reparation Task Force's own recommendation. Critics also contend that the task force did not recommend further research on verifying descendant status. Many genealogical methods already exist. Now, the placement of the Bureau under the DOJ, a law enforcement is criticized as a structural misstep, possibly undermining trust and privacy. Some believe the Bureau should be independent or under a civil rights agency structure. Now, it says concerns over political interference, oversight, and mission creep also flagged. Now, I'm reading all this because it's a lot, but I want to make sure that we understand it. I'm almost done. Now, it says because SB 518's operation depends on legislative appropriations, opponents warn that lack of funding or competing budget priorities could hamper or prevent its actual functioning. In summary, while many see SB 518 as a significant step toward reparative justice, critics argue that its structure delays, privacy risks, and legal vulnerability weakens its effectiveness or threatens its viability. Now, this is the question that I specifically want to know. Are other races or groups included besides Black descendants of slavery? Now, it says no. SB 518 is narrowly tailored by its definition to benefit descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, who in practice are overwhelmingly African Americans. That's the term that it used, or those of African descent whose ancestors were enslaved. Descendants of African American chattel enslaved persons in the United States. So this is another definition. Says that descendants of free Black persons living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century in earlier drafts. Now, it says no other racial or ethnic groups, for example, indigenous, Latino, Asian, etc., are included under the definition of descendants. The bill is explicitly intended to redress harms tied to the legacy of American chattel slavery. However, in the bill's intent, quote unquote, language, it allows for future expansions or advice to address harms in non-descendant communities harmed by exclusion, segregation, discrimination, etc. But that is advisory, not automatic inclusion. So again, Gavin Newsom signed that, approved that on this past Friday, October 10th. So yes, they are entertaining an agency. But as y'all heard, there's a lot of issues because how will it be funded? You got to get the genealogy department involved before a lot of things can pass. But then in there, and they know a lot of people won't read this, and I talked about this about a week or so ago. They know a lot of people won't read it, but that it does say that non-descendants can also be included later, because specifically it talks about the eminent domain, because there's a lot of people all over the United States, but specifically in California, that had their land taken by the government for whatever reason, and they weren't all Black. So basically it's saying that Latinos can say, hey, my family's land was taken, or, indigenous, when I say indigenous Indians can say, oh, my land was taken, which we know they've been compensated to some degree. So many have said this is potentially a nothing burger. I've seen a lot of y'all say that, Gavin Newsom may be running, let me take this down, may be running for president. There's no proof of that yet, although it sure maybe looks like he might be in it. It's kind of early too, because Trump hasn't even been in office for a whole year. But when I think about, is he doing this to win over Black voters? Now, California-wise speaking, there's less than 6% of Black people in California. Now, if you're talking nationwide, that might have some effect, but let's keep it a buck. Gavin Newsom is a Democrat, and Black people are still going to show up for the Democrats overwhelmingly, no matter who or what it is. So, Donovan, what say you? And then I'm going to get to you guys' comments. Thank you for bearing with me. I just want to make sure that we understand, because what I hate is for people to take a snippet of a headline and run away with that without getting the details and the particulars. So, Donovan.
Okay, you guys grab your seats, grab your popcorn, because I'm about to go in right now. You basically said all of that to basically say nothing at all. Once again, this is and I'm not saying, you gave some important information. What I'm saying is, once again, as Black people, they are dangling the carrot in front of our faces. The one thing I got after listening to you read all of that information is I'm like, golly, you mean to tell me you have to jump over all these hurdles just to get $2? Now, my question is this. When the illegals came here, did they set up all of these hurdles for the illegals to get benefits? No, they just gave them the money. Where was the study for them? Where was the 5 years waiting? Where was this? Where was that? Are you guys tired like I am of the theater? When it comes to Black people, we have to be track and field. We're the ones that have to jump over the hurdles, do the Lindy Hop and all this other stuff just to get $2. But every other group comes over here, they get the money, no study, no background checks. They're just issuing checks. When they gave out the stimulus checks, did anybody study how much interest and all this other stuff that's going to go? And everybody got one, even rich people. They just gave out the money. Why is it that when it comes to us, it's always some type of, okay, well, you got to do this, then you got to do this. Oh, then wait. Before you do that, you got to go back and go get your grandmama and show that your grandmama got. They know for a fact a lot of these documents that they're going to request and want do not exist. What about slavery? Don't we understand? If I could prove my lineage back at least, 100 years, what's the issue here? I mean, I just get tired of the games, and what I really get tired of, you guys, is seeing these people who call themselves Democrats. They see exactly what I'm seeing, and they're going to take their vote and still support this crap. All these other groups, Karen, I'll give you a good example. I'm here in California, Karen Bass. Well, the illegals are so scared to go to work, we're going to give them some kind of money, most likely cartel backed, that allegedly, and we're going to give them a stipend so they don't have to go to work. I just don't get any of this. I mean, I'm sick and tired of it. It's ridiculous. The fact of the matter is, they know who is lineage based and who is not. They know who FBAs are and who are not. They know this stuff. And then if you think about it, with less than 6% of Californians being Black, how much money would California really spend compared to? There are more illegals in California that California busted its budget to support than there were Black people that actually live here. I'm just tired of the games, but what do you guys got to say? Because I think you guys have a more important thing to say, but I will say this. As California goes, so does the nation. Remember back in the 70s, your aunts and your grandmothers, California had such good welfare benefits and all that other stuff. Some people were just moving here just for the welfare benefits from, wherever state they were from. They would come here just to do that. And that's how a lot of people ended up in California, other than the jobs. I'm talking about like the, independent moms and stuff like that. They were chasing benefits and they would come to the state. But it just doesn't make sense to me. You will spend more money funding illegals that are more than Black people. To me, it would be cheaper just to give the Black people that are here in California the money and go about their business. But as California goes, so does the rest of the nation.
Absolutely. And Monica, thank you so much for the $10 donation. Love it. Appreciate you for that. And Brian, how you doing? You asked the question. You say basically, by now, should we be raising our own reparations? And yeah, we should be keeping more of our money home, right? They say that we got about $2 trillion, give or take, in the Black community here in America. We should be doing that. But yeah, they owe us money and we want that. We want our reparations. They owe that to us. Never was given to our ancestors who were told that they would get it. And all of the horrors in between that, even up to this very moment. So yeah, we want our money. So we can do both. We want our reparations, and we should be practicing group economics. So hope that helps. Zaya, how you doing? So another lies, fairy tales, and reparations from the demo rats to get the gullible black vote. But as I said, you know, Democrats still already going to get the overwhelming amount of black votes. They just are. I think it's going to take a while before it, you know, gets to kind of where everybody else is, maybe like 50-50 or whatever it is. Brother Reddy says, my godmother used to live in San Diego. I've visited there in 2002. Does that mean I qualify? Try your luck. Hey, Diane, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. And PDM1, how you doing? It says, fool us once, that's enough. They ain't doing it. As soon as they attach others, that's gross. But yeah, that part. Sunlight says he's trying to line himself up for a presidential run. He might be, you know, we'll know when they actually announce, right? Computer Blue says if it doesn't say American chattel slavery, then it's not specifically for us. Well, the what they have put in the bill does say that. However, it also has language about they can advise later on to add non-descendants. So that's where we got to really pay attention. So I just want to be clear about that.
And real quick, Dimitri, I'm going to ask you a quick question. What would stop the next executive of California to dismantle this agency? Let's say a Republican gets in there and he says, you know what, we don't need that. We're going to dismantle it like Donald Trump is doing and all this other stuff. You see what I'm saying? What protections do they put in there to stop that agency from being taken away? And I'll give you a better example than that. Before there was an Indian Bureau of Affairs, which still exists to this very day. Remember, we fought the Indian Wars in the 1870s. The Indian Wars were fought. They stood up a Indian Affairs Bureau based off of what bureau? The Freedmen's Bureau. That's how the Indian Affairs Bureau came into existence. The Indian Affairs Bureau is still in the Interior Department. It is funded under the Interior Department. Where is the Freedmen's Bureau? Anybody? Does anybody know what happened to the Freedmen's Bureau? It was disbanded when, you know, whatever that agreement was to let Rutherford B. Hayes become president and all that other stuff and remove the troops from the South. So they removed a bureau for former slaves and kept a bureau for Native Americans that still exists today. So if they could do that then, where's the language that would keep this new bureau from an executive coming in to remove it? Any idea?
Well, I mean, I don't know. You know, once it's signed in the law, the thing is too, I don't know all of it there is to know about civics, but just like it has to go through their legislature, it also has to go through the legislature. If they get another governor, Republican, or whatever it is, it's still, he couldn't just arbitrarily do what he wants. That still would have to go through their assembly or whatever it is. So there's some processes, but there's nothing to say that they won't do it. But again, this is just kind of to establish something, an agency. Like, what kind of agency is it, right? It doesn't say Freedmen's Bureau. That's not what it says. It just says an agency. But as a lot of people who are opposed to it, a lot of those were ADOS groups. Now, not the one that's been trending on X and all that, not that ADOS group. A lot of them that's been in the game for a long time is saying, you know, there's so many questions. How does it get funded? And, you know, the genealogy part of it, that should pass first. That way we don't have to waste time because you pass in an agency, but you're not establishing the genealogy portion of it to say, okay, let's figure out who is who, right? And again, they raise questions in regards to the privacy. It's like, why would you put the Department of Justice in charge of holding people's information when Black people in general do not have a trust of, you know, the injustice system here in America? So if there's a lot of flaws, so there is no guarantee that whoever comes in next will try to reverse it, but it has some steps that it has to go to. So I just want to be clear about that. Brother Dion, how you doing? Long time no see. Says, why is reparations limited to slavery? Like, shouldn't vagrant laws over the 100 massacre across America to steal Black land, Jim Crow, redlining, Great Society Act, crack epidemic, etc., be included? So a lot of that is included in different languages throughout the United States, right? I know in California, it doesn't just address slavery. It does address like redlining and things like that as well. So, but I agree with you. I mean, they could be adding stuff forever because there's always something going on, right? All right, let's see. Monet, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm gonna skip down so that I can catch up. Kevin, how you doing? May, what's going on with you? Say he's gonna run for president and he'll probably win, but don't go for Black California. Fool me once, but again, as I said, Black Californians is that many people there, so I don't know how much, which is why, to everybody's point, that's why California operates the way it does in regards to thumbing its nose at Black people, because it ain't that many people there. But see, this is where we gotta, because in a sense we squandered away our power in regards to voting in some places, and we were told not to do that for a very, very long time, especially by that of Dr. Claude Anderson, but we did it anyway, right? We voted as against our betterment, instead of sitting down and saying, okay, wait a minute now, if I vote for the Democrats, keep voting for them, what does that actually mean for us? Because we know that now it actually helped get the United States of America in regards to immigration where it is. So, some of that is an admonishment to us. Silky Danielle, how you doing? Says they know who we are. Oh, for sure, right? But again, it's all those little hoops of fire. Brother Arniva, he says, by the time they establish the agency, the election will be over. Exactly. So, and Pookie, how you doing? Says, whatever country is responsible for colonizing, they should pay reparations to those people. Absolutely. Caribbeans, wherever you are, they have, the British Commonwealth or whoever it is, do that. Let me skip down just a little bit. Oh, I got to the bottom. Protect fam, how you doing? It said Newsom will never be president. That's funny. And Claire, how you doing? He says, hey Dimitri, yuck. I think you're talking to Donovan in chat. He says, I will never say Gavin will win. That's putting that energy out there. He will have to make this happen now. It remains to be seen.
Right. Well, can I say this? If you've seen California under the 8 years of Gavin Newsom and see what it looks like, this place is bombed out. That movie Escape from L.A., Escape from New York, that's actually what California is right now under this democratic regime of Gavin Newsom. It is bombed out, and if the American people cannot literally go and see, or if you have not heard about the homeless everywhere, the crime and this, that, that is the America you will get if you vote this clown in the office.
And, just to be all fair, in fairness, yes, it's gotten worse over the last, I'd say 8 years or so, but California has been trending downhill for a very long time. There's always been a skid row. There's always been, homelessness and crime and a whole host of other things, right? There's always been immigrants there even before Gavin got there. So did he exacerbate what's going on? I guess one could argue that, but did he create it? I would say no. And listen, I'm not a Gavin Newsom fan at all, right? But I think we should, really be fair in our assessment of things. I don't know if Gavin will be president. If he runs for president, I think that he'll have a really good shot. I think that he will. And I say that because just like nobody or a lot of people didn't think Trump would get back in office, he's back in office because, again, they be doing too much on the left and they do too much on the right. And so what ends up happening is kind of like a ping pong effect where people say, okay, yeah, we don't want no more of that. So let's go back to here so we can try to see if things will get better instead of just, let's get somebody that's, more of a centrist, moderate, I guess, in the middle that could, I guess, be a president from that standpoint.
Well, I will say this. I'm not saying it's not possible. I say it's very, very slim possibility that he would be president because he has too many negatives going for him. He is the nephew of Nancy Pelosi. He allegedly slept with his best friend's wife. There are so many. I said allegedly. Oh, wait. So with all of these things that he has, who knows what else is going to come out of that can with Gavin. I'm not saying it won't happen. What I'm saying is he has a long hill to climb politically to get to that. The mere fact that he's Nancy Pelosi's nephew, that's hanging around his neck, that's going to be kind of hard to get those red states to run behind him.
Like, again, when I hear people say Gavin Newsom slept with his best friend's wife, y'all are mirroring that up against a man who was said himself that he could just run around grabbing women by their coochies. I mean, come on now. And we acting like people sleeping with people, wives and husbands, because they do that too, is a disqualifier. That is the most debauchery in the White House in Washington. There's the most debauchery. And now all of a sudden people want to disqualify stuff because they sleeping with their bed. That's the mildest thing that they doing in Washington. So it's like, I hear that kind of stuff. But my thing is, Tell me why people really shouldn't vote for these people, because there's never been, I don't know, I would never is probably strong, but I would I'd probably estimate that most of those people who sit in that White House or in any politician office got some skeletons going on in their closet or under their desk. So that to me is like, okay, what else y'all got as far as, oh, he slept with his best friend's wife. You got a man who been to slept with everything that ain't nailed down. But yeah, he slept with his best friend's wife. See, that's why I said too, with the foolishness so far over here and over here, that's why you're gonna have that ping pong effect. Because like, talk about stuff that he really shouldn't be elected for, not because he slept with his best friend's wife, allegedly.
Well, the thing is, again, we got to be real in politics. And like I said, I eat this stuff up. You have a Bible Belt. There's a lot of voters in the Bible Belt that still cling on to these old values and stuff like that. That's going to be something that's going to, like I said, I qualify. I'm not saying he's not going to get elected. The fact of the matter is that does play a factor in how some people vote, especially in the Midwest. That is a big, big thing with those people, even though it's hypocritical. Like you said, I agree, but people still deal with that type of situation. And then who knows? The Epstein list might come out and, names might be on it. So that could be something as well, too. So we will see. But see, and you bring up a good point with that about he slept with this and, Donald Trump, and you guys that are bringing up Donald Trump could get elected, whoever elected. This is why I say, why does the Epstein list matter? Mind your business. It don't matter. That's their personal. Oh, it's children. So what? So what? What does it matter? Again, he's sleeping with another person's wife. Why does that matter? Like you guys are telling me. So what? He's sleeping with other people's wives. Allegedly. So what? This is what we're talking about. What's important to some people is important to other people and vice versa. And like you said, I agree. You got far left and you got far right. You got to come to the middle. But in politics, these type of things do matter.
It just depends on who you ask. Like I said, I don't know. Like if I'm thinking about somebody sleeping with somebody's wife or whatever the case is, I think that's an issue between them and their wives and their inner circle. Can it denote how a person will run the country? Yeah, sure. But that's probably why the country been running bad ever since there was a president, because ain't none of them been righteous in the White House, right? So that's why I said when we disqualify people, and listen, I don't think that Gavin Newsom would be a good president, so don't mistake me in that. But what I'm not going to be running around doing is talking about he slept with his best friend's wife. Like I said, when you got everybody in there that's been doing something. They said when Charlie Kirk's funeral was going on, the gay app Grindr, it was red dots every damn well. Right? So it's like, well, who are all these Republicans and their right-wing people? Y'all the family value party, but the Grindr app is lit up. What, y'all doing a sting operation? What y'all doing? Why is the Grindr app so hot to trot next to the funeral? And y'all all right. See what I'm saying? So I don't care if you want to, get your booty tooted by another dude. That's your business, right? I just don't want to know about it. You know what I'm saying? But why you getting your booty tooted? What are you going to do to make my life better? That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? I don't know. I got a little too much rest, okay? A little too much rest. Hey, Eddie, how you doing? So the Bible Belt is where it goes that you went. That's where the Grindr app is at, right? In the Bible Belt. Keyshaw says, don't be surprised if Hillary run in 2028 for president. She might. I don't know. Hillary's pretty up there. Her. Oh, by the way. So her and Bill celebrated their 50th anniversary. I hope she pours some hot grits on them, and at least in some of those 50 years. Protect Family said, Demetri, I'm surprised you like somebody like Newsom. Did you hear me say I like somebody like Newsom? See, that's because I got a lot of rest. And when your girl gets some rest, I was told the other day that I'm hyper, and I'm like, I guess maybe I am. I never said that I like Gavin. See, this is the problem. Okay. I don't dislike the man, but I wouldn't vote for him for president. But this is the problem. We got to sometimes be able to listen for real without getting emotional, because I'm not mad or like spreading stuff about him sleeping with his for homies woman. That don't mean I like the man. I'm saying let's dig up something that's really gonna be the nail in the coffin, right? That's all I'm saying. Because a lot of y'all, not y'all, them over there, go to church and the pastor them boinked everybody on the motherboard and ain't nobody said nothing. Got babies by all of them and ain't nobody said not one word. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying let's really get something like, oh, he had the California Legislative Black Caucus block reparations allegedly for Black people. Like, to me, that's the stuff that matters. Not that he then got sideways horizontal and gave his homie's wife 2 minutes of fun. Like, why are we even talking about that? Jesse says, gruesome Newsom has no morals or values, just like Trump. That's the point people are making. They all corrupt. Are we under the impression that there's somebody there in Washington that's, above moral ground?
Yes, AOC. Maxine Waters. Let me go on. Val Demings, when she was a police officer.
Maxine Waters is just happy that she's above ground. Okay.
No. You forget. No. You forget. Maxine Waters was at the Last Supper with Jesus, so she's a good personal friend.
I'm just saying, they was walking on water. They was, twerking on water. That's what they whop. Brother Reggie says, that aside, Gavin supports all the transformer and men and women's locker rooms, mess. He could kick rocks. Yeah, all of that. But as I said too, a lot of them. Y'all know me, Brother Reggie. I love y'all. I really do. I'm a argue from the middle. Yes, he does. And I don't cut for none of that, but this ain't my business because I know who and what I am. Okay. But there is potentially a PDF file in the White House that a lot of people are just saying, they even talking. He's even mulling over whether he's going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, and she really was involved in harming some kids. So I hear what you're saying, but it's like where do we find the moral ground? Like, if we're going to talk about morals, where is the moral ground? Like, where should we say, okay, all of this is on the table, or all of it is off the table? Like, what are we doing as far as morals are concerned? And I'm not saying they don't matter, because they do, but I'm just asking. Who else haven't I seen? I wanted to skip down. Michael, how you doing? Says, I concluded that both the Democrats and Republicans are compromised and don't work in the interest of average American citizens. We need to abandon both of them and find a third option. We've been told that, right? So I totally agree with you. Window, he says, yep. Variables, then moving parts are super crazy. Yeah, the moving parts will get you messed up every time. African Native says, my daughter turned 8 yesterday. Well, happy birthday to your lovely daughter. 8 is, I remember I was 8, like 40-something years ago. But tell your daughter we said happy birthday. Yes, Arneba, booty tootie. That means, yeah, but all that. He might, you know what I'm saying? Claire says, Gavin a goofy, but if he approves reparations, then I'll listen to the ancestors on this one. Yeah, I mean, that's something to consider, right? If he does reparations, but like I said, I'm a California native, okay? Born and raised. So I don't really cut for Gavin. I mean, I see the foolishness that he up to. Norma says, sometimes we have to vote for the lesser two evils and then make that evil. We voted for a lame duck president by voting for the opposite party in Congress or letting the opposite party take control. Now, I agree with that too. A pretty good degree. I do, because there needs to be some checks and balances, because as y'all see now, there is none, right? Jamal, how you doing? Says, evangelical vote for Trump and support him to this day. You can't get no older than that. I think you're trying to say, yeah, that's is wild, right? But then again, like I said, check out my video on the African Diaspora News channel next week. I got something to speak to that. Arson, how you doing? You say, hi guys, how have you been? We're doing wonderful, no complaints. Lily, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Silky Daniel says, old as hell. Brother Dion says, I don't think a Democrat stands a chance to win next presidency. I didn't know it. A lot of it remains to be seen. It's like three years from now. Anything can happen. I tell you all the time, I don't think Trump is going to finish his presidency. I don't. I don't know, something's gonna happen to him. Y'all see that tweet that he put on Truth Social last night in the middle of the night? Because see, stuff like that make me think, oh boy, ain't gonna be here long. Because he was basically saying that, and I'm paraphrasing, but Biden put 247 FBI plants, if you will, during the J6 or whatever. And he was like basically paraphrasing, he needs to be responsible for that. And people you can go on Twitter right now, or X, and they're like, dude, you were the president then. Biden wasn't president. So how are you blaming Biden for any of that? Biden was nowhere even in office. Now, he had been elected, but he had not been sworn in yet. So a lot of people are saying, what's wrong with this dude? Like, you literally were the president. So how are you blaming Biden for this? So I just see the dude. I don't know. I think Trump is, I don't know.
Well, Demetra, I agree with you what you're just saying. It isn't just Trump. It's like I said, when a generation of leadership stays in there too long, they're all going to have, not all of them, but a good majority of them, you're going to go through cognitive decline. And this is the problem in America. We are electing, the baby boomers should have been out of office 25 years ago. It should be Generation Xers up there right now. And then Generation Y getting ready to take over leadership, because we would be into our 20th year ourselves. This is another reason why the country is so jacked up, because these people don't know when to leave.
Yeah, but the other thing too, Donovan, we don't know when to make them leave. Like, why? Like, Connor, think about it. What is the logic behind? And listen, I don't know Maxine. I'm sure she's probably a lovely woman outside of politics. But Donovan, honestly, what is the logic of continuing to vote her in office? What's the logic?
Well, there is no logic. I mean, like I said, for those of you guys that don't know, Maxine Waters does not work for Black people because there's not enough Black people in her district to really matter. She got reelected under 70% of Hispanic votes. As long as she's going to do the Hispanic agenda, hey, they don't have a problem with her. But the minute she steps out of line, she's going to be gone. But most likely she'll be carried out before she gets voted out. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with all of that. Term limits. Anybody? Term limits? That would alleviate the problems of generational stacking of people staying too long. There's got to be a way to do that. And I believe that if you're in the Congress, you should serve no more than 10 years. That's 5 terms. You get 5 terms, 10 years. If you're a senator, you get 2 terms, maybe 3. And that's more than enough. The 3 years, that's what? 6 times 3, that's 18 years as a senator. That's more than enough time to fill your pockets with our money and go live a good life with you and the rest of your family. But if the president of the United States can only run for 2 offices, why are we dealing with these people that keep staying in there? It just doesn't make sense. We need term limits. That would solve that problem without question, without fail.
Yeah, Brother Reggie, you crazy. I mean, lovely woman, because I don't know, Matt. I don't know any of them personally. We only know their politics. So I'm just saying, without, dragging her or nothing like that, I don't see the logic of continuing to have her in office. I mean, Maxine, like I said, my Lord, she's up there in age, right? And sometimes she just be screwy-eyed, just be there, right? I don't know. So I'm just like Maxine, Jim Clyburn, all of them. And I don't want to engage in ages.
Look at Dianne Feinstein. I mean, it was a crime what they did to that woman. That was a crime.
Well, she did it to herself, and the people continue to vote her in, So that's what I'm saying. At what point do we admonish ourselves as the voter or the non-voter that those people keep getting into office? I mean, my Lord, Maxine Waters is a silent generationer. She's not a baby boomer. She's the baby boomer's parents. Or he could be, right? Or whatever at the tail end. So I say all that to say, I mean, what else what is she doing there? What is she, does she even know how to use it?
Reclaiming my time. Give me your number, whatever, and I'll call you, homeless person.
I mean, I'm just saying that, like I said, I don't want to dog her out too bad, but but that's our fault. When I say our, I mean us that, keep her in office. Poogie says all front trash parties, scam Bondi, do is lie. They do be lying. Yeah, I think we can concede they do be lying. And as y'all said, yes, Stephen Miller, apparently it appears that he is running the White House. Yeah, Trump, he seemed like he might be a little on the tide side.
And by the way, Stephen Miller is from Santa Monica, California. He is a Jew, and he's one of the most racist people you will ever know. Isn't that strange?
Well, we want to be careful. We want to be careful of the things that we say on here.
Well, what I'm saying is, his policies, let me rephrase that. His policies are some of the racist that you will ever see. But isn't that strange, though?
Yeah, I mean, right. But, he's in the Trump administration. He's part of the Trump administration. So, Dion,
a Jewish guy that walked with King, a Jewish person. I'm just saying, let's match it up. Zionist. Yeah, he's really a Zionist.
Dion says, I know this sounds crazy, but they're going to make a black man president next to gain favor with the next superpower, China, BRICS, because of its alliance with Africa. But what would the black president do in regards to that? I mean, we've seen what they tried to do, that one general or captain, whatever he is, tried to go in and speak ill of Captain Ibrahim Traore. So ain't no black man going that's a Trojan horse for sure, I would imagine.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me. Everybody that is alive today, you will not see another black president in your lifetime. And I'm going to say that right now.
Mary, how you doing? Says, I wouldn't vote for him if he was telling the truth. Democrats are desperate to get black people vote back. Thank God the baby boomers are still there, the ones who love our country. Yeah, if you ask me, I don't think the Democrats are trying to even get our vote back. Honestly, if you're really paying attention, they're still really, crashing out for the immigrants. They're not even really talking to black people. I mean, even Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago, he coming up with all these safe zones and all this stuff to protect the immigrants. He ain't, only time Brandon Johnson talks about black people is when he talked to black and brown. Oh, well, they doing the immigrants like they did our ancestors. Or he keeps talking about the Civil War stuff. Like he wants to, they're trying, the South, the right wing are trying to get a do-over with the Civil War. And that's to invoke fear in us, right? Like if y'all don't get involved with this immigration stuff, then y'all gonna be back on the plantation type stuff. So I don't hear the Democrats really even talking to black people at all.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that. They were there was a program I was watching, and I don't know if you guys saw Chuck Schumer. He was on some program, and they were asking him about the black turnout in the last election, and he says, "Well, we've got Warnock working on this, and we got Cory Booker working on the turnout for the black vote." And when he said that, I'm like, well, they asked you, what are you doing about the black turnout? And Chuck Schumer deferred to these other people because, matter of fact, the part of the autopsy of the Democratic Party thing came out 8 months after the election. And one of the major things was the reach out to black men and, the black vote. And what they're saying is, I mean, they've acknowledged that, yeah, that was a big mistake because they don't even want to come and talk to us. Because again, when you give 90-something% of your vote to one party, why should they have to come talk to you? You're going to give them your vote anyway. And with the loss of 15% of that vote that cost them the election, that partially cost them the election, they see that that's a problem. And they're basically asking him, what are they going to do? And he had no answers. He had no answers of how to get the black vote back.
Yes, indeed. Rock Bush, how you doing? You say I'm a coward. Well, my mama would beg to differ, okay? And my mama's going on, and my mom said I was one of the most courageous people that she ever met. She said she didn't like everything that I did. She was, a little bit fearful because, see, my heart don't pump no Kool-Aid when it comes to this. But I tell you what is cowardice, since you call me a coward, what's cowardice is knowing that we got black platforms like the African Diaspora News Channel app and other ones, but black people won't go over there. Black people rather sit on these white folks' apps and cry about what we can and cannot say. That's being a coward. But I'll tell you one thing, a lot of y'all, y'all ain't gonna risk what y'all got going on. Y'all want everybody else to put it on the line. See, my heart don't pump no Kool-Aid, but see, unlike you, I'm gonna tell you right now. See, I read. This is on my desk. I read. So I don't have to say any and everything that come to my mind to appease a couple of people. So do I know the truth? I know the truth, but do you know the truth? But as I said, until we go over to our Black-owned apps in droves to where we can go over there and say what we want to say, I'm going to say this as nice as I can. Shut your two lips calling me a coward. Please and thank you. Anyway, Facts Not Feelings, how you doing? He says, imagine a Mexican guy in a border town doing a town hall meeting and then mentioning something about Black and Brown coalition. Those Hispanics will run him out of that town hall meeting. But again, see, this is where I'm going to have to get on my perch. I ain't going to stay up there too long. But I agree with you 100%. But see, we as Black people, we have a lot going on to us, with us. But unfortunately, a lot of times we concede our power. Right? Because how was it that Brandon Johnson, for one, got in office? I know he probably lied a whole lot, this, that, and the other. See, the other problem is, will he stay in office? Or anybody else? See, the Democrats know they can do that to Black people because all they got to do is say, oh, I'm the party of Black people. Oh, well, you know, we the party of Black people. Again, if you force something, that means you are pro, right? You do something for that people. The Democrats ain't never done nothing specifically for Black people. Republicans haven't either, but we don't overwhelmingly vote for the Republicans. We do that to Democrats. And all they got to do is give us a funky fish fry and some other symbolism, and we show up to the polls and we run around with that sticker talking about I voted, and that's all we get. That's all we can put our hands on as a sticker, and we see them doing this time and time again. Case in point, Kamala Harris, she sat up there with Biden and continuing on with the benign neglect of Black people. But they got in office and allowed all those immigrants to come over here, like open the doors wide open. And then Kamala still got the majority of the Black vote. But then we cry about what everybody's doing and this, that, and the other. But yet we still signed in line. When I say we, I mean collectively, okay? Lined up to vote for Kamala Harris, knowing what her and Biden were doing, full knowledge of what they did, and then we'll cry about what Brandon Johnson is doing or not doing or anybody else. But when do we admonish ourselves? Some of that is on us. We allow them to give us absolutely nothing. Our vote is very valuable. It ain't valuable to us because we don't use it, right? But it's valuable to everybody else. Every immigrant that came over the borders, that was our vote benefited them. They gained from our votes. We didn't gain anything. The Asian community, all of them. It wasn't just a Japanese, Korean, all of them. They got a hate crime bill. The moment Biden and Kamala stepped into office, they got that. And they got that by saying we were the boogeymans. What do we get? We got Kamala going to Tyree Nichols' funeral and saying, when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go tell Joe Biden to sign the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act in the law. And she ain't said nothing else once she got her ass off of that pulpit lying up in the church. And we still don't have a bill. So at what point do we take some ownership? Like, to me, and I think this is kind of why, like last Thursday, I was like, I'm tired. I'm tired. Nothing to do with nobody else, but I felt like I'm repeating myself type of thing. And it does get tiring because it's like we can drag everybody else to hell. And I'm not saying they don't deserve to be dragged there. But when we going to drag our own asses? That's kind of where I'm at right now. When are we going to put some ownership on the stuff we do and do not do for our own people? I'm just asking.
Real quick, Demetra, how many of you guys have heard here in California, we have an initiative of the, I guess it's the redistricting stuff. It's a big thing. California's redistricting because Donald Trump is redistricting in Texas, so California is going to do it. Now, I want you guys to listen to this. This is how the Democrats here in California have been telling the people what is going on. They're saying that, oh, well, we got to do this. $200 million is what it costs to do this election, special election and stuff. This is what Gavin Newsom and the Democrats are telling the California residents here. It gives the people the power to draw the maps and things like this. So we're going to have this election so that we could draw the maps the way we want to, the citizens. I have the ballot right here. Okay. How many of you guys know that, of course, you're not from California. California years ago approved congressional maps are to be made by a citizens commission. But the Democrats have spun it to make it seem like citizens don't already do that. Because what it is they want the power back to the politician. And I'm going to read this to you guys real quick. And this is what it says. This bill, what they want to do is authorizes temporary changes to congressional district maps in response to Texan partisan redistricting legislative constitutional amendments. Requires temporary use of new congressional district maps through 2030. Directs independent citizens redistricting commission, so we already have that. That's the commission we already have. To resume enacting congressional district maps in 2031. But they're spinning it as if we don't already have that power as a person. See, and this is my problem with the Democrats. They continually lie to their supporters. We already have a civilian commission to do redistricting. Why are you trying to lie and give the power back to the politician to where you could gerrymander your own districts and your own elections? This is why California established a commission, a civilian commission, to do the redistricting. But this is why the Democrats continue to lose elections. They are not above board, and they continually lie, regardless of what the situation is. This special election, this is the only thing on the ballot, $200 million. And yet we've got homeless people, and we've got people that need food and all kinds of stuff going on. And this is how Gavin Newsom spends the money on his way out the damn door.
Absolutely. And Diane Wright says we never gain anything. That's the problem. And our brother John, how you doing, says another example, HBCU grads getting upset on social media about Turning Point coming to our campuses, but crickets when people are shot and killed around or near campuses during homecomings. Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't know how silent they are. They may be saying something, but I don't see those two things going in the same vein per se, because I think they should not want to have to talk to them. We're not monkeys. We're not showpieces. We're not Autobangas or Saartjie Bartman. We're not that. And what I say by that is the white folks want to go to black campus and debate black people for what? So they can go get clicks and views and make money and say, oh, this, that, and the other. We're not on display. Like at some point in time, we as black people got to say, I don't owe you nothing. I don't owe you a conversation. Why? So you can go put all this on social media. What you're going to put on social media is me not saying nothing to you. We don't need to grant them Godspeed or nothing at all. And that's the problem. They think we owe them that. Why, of all people on the planet or in America, you want to debate black people? We ain't got nothing to talk about, because for one thing, you don't agree with nothing we saying anyway. So why are you so interested in having a conversation with us? Oh, debate me. For what? We don't agree. Fact, if we really serious about segregation, what is it to talk about? We don't need to talk about nothing. I don't think we need to talk about is what part of the earth you going to? What part of the earth we going to? But all that will change my mind and debate me? No. Go debate your mama. How about that? And Rock Bush, you said, well, people can say what they want about FBA, or whatever, make sense. You know what? I'm going to keep using this example. I'm going to ask you this. You going to let me come in your house and have my say, whatever I want to say? If you want, your drapes open and I come in there and shut them closed, I say we closing the drapes. How long you going to let me do that in your house? You probably wouldn't let me even touch your drapes. So I say all that to say, as long as you on these people's platforms, I'm going to say this respectfully again, shut your mouth. Now, I know that's disrespectful, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's what they saying. Anytime you on a white man's platform, he can say, shut up, boy, or what you gonna do about it? See, the problem is you ain't gonna do nothing but cry and complain. But if you really didn't like, I got too much rest. But if you really don't like somebody saying what they want to say about FBA, then watch to see your ass to the black apps where you can kind of say, because you can't go on the black apps and just run your mouth and say anything you want to say because you get blocked there too. But I'm saying there's a little bit more liberty on our own apps, but crying about what you can and cannot do on white folks stuff is insane to me. It's insane, and I cannot wrap my very big forehead around any of it. I'll be damned. There's a lot of things I would rather do, but complaining about what white folks won't let me do on their stuff is crazy. Stop that.
Yeah, it never made sense to me how we want to force ourselves onto somebody else's platform or their thing and make them adapt to us. When I was going to school, or even in pilot school, the first thing I tell people who want to be pilots, you adjust to the instructor. The instructor is not going to adjust to you. So you might have several different instructors, right? They teach different ways, different techniques. You must adapt to the instructor. But for some reason, people think, well, I'm like, you got to let me in here and all this is going to be happening. So let's be real here. Demetra, 8 years now, Demetra would come over my house. She'd tell me where to put the couch, move this, put this over here. She ain't leaving until she's ready, you know, all kinds of stuff. So don't let Demetra fool you. She'll come in your house and wreck shop.
Yeah, I mean, and I see y'all saying, you know, and you're right, Frank, our rights aren't up for debate. And I see a lot of people saying, hey, Renee, how you doing? You know, why not debate them? Because we don't owe them that. I'm serious. You know, why would we want to put on little monkey suits and tap dance for them? That they want to be entertained. So they can go entertain their people at your behest. That's why I brought up Saartjie Baartman or Otabanga and all the other people that they forced on, you know, these chitlin circuits, tap dance for me or whatever it is. They're not interested in it. Because do you really think that they care about what you got to say? Come on now. This is why they say study history. Nation Islam says it very, very good at saying study history. Do you really think they care about what you got to say? Do you really think you're going to change their minds? Has the white supremacists' minds been changed since? You think when our people was whining and crying and getting that, you know, wit to their backs and a whole lot of stuff? Don't you think they were saying, Master, please don't do that to me? I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm human. Do you think they was able to change their minds? So what makes you think they're going to go to our campuses and we going to change their minds? So we got to know when we're being bamboozled. Them people don't give a damn about black people, never have, and never will. So why would you sign up? Well, I just want you to understand. Well, I don't give a damn what they think about me. And I don't know how much strongly I could say that.
Yeah, I remember in the Roots when Kizzy got sold. Remember what Kizzy's mom was doing? Please, Master, you could beat me. I mean, she was pleading and all kinds of stuff, and the white man didn't want to hear it. His mind was made up. He was done.
So that's what I'm saying. What you really think you say something profound where they gonna say, "Ooh, you know what? You're right. Black people deserve reparations. Let me go tell everybody." You think they're not coming to do that? Because I'm gonna tell y'all already know. And I'm sorry if I'm yelling. Please forgive me. I won't get as much rest next time. But I forgot what I was gonna say because maybe that was the ancestors. Like he was probably gonna go too far. But they're not interested. They're not interested in what we got to say. They're not. They just want to be entertained. I know what I was going to say. The ancestor wanted me to say it. Is they already think they're superior, which is why it's the false idea of white supremacy. And they wake up thinking, oh, we're more superior than everybody. Because do you think if they thought they were going to lose a debate to black folks, they would show up? Listen, I know a little bit about argumentation and debate as I got 2 degrees that made me have to learn about that, okay? Arguing is not actually debating, okay? And talking over each other with knowing this, that, and the other and ramming down, you know, straw men and a whole bunch of other fallacies. It's not good debate. It's a form of it, but it's really just arguing. Because who is the referee? Who are the judges to say, oh, well, you made a good point? Who's to do that? So they already going to these campuses or wherever with these false ideas that they're superior. I'm going to argue these Negroes down. I'm going to let them know that they're inferior. They don't deserve any money. You don't deserve any rights. Martin Luther King, you know what they really call him. Okay, I ain't gonna call him that. He wasn't this and this, that, and the other. And why would you want to argue with you? Listen, I know who I am. And one thing I'm not going to do is argue with no white folks about my knowledge of self. I don't think so. Anybody who will argue with white folks about who you are as a person, you need to go and rearrange your understanding of who you are, because people who are somebody, really kings and queens and got good knowledge of self, would never bid them the time of day. And for those of y'all who study the Bible, Jesus and the devil had one conversation. And y'all know what that conversation was. The devil's like, bow down to me right now, and I give you anything you want. When he was stuck in the woods for 40 days and 40 nights, and Jesus said, Satan, get thee behind me and never come before me again. That was the only conversation they had. So I say all of that to say, we got to get that in our minds. There's certain people I'm not going to have a conversation with, because for why? So let's see. Thank you, John. My forehead is beautiful. Princess Armand, how you doing? Says, why y'all raising her blood pressure? I'm good. I'm telling you, I got a lot of rest. Corbina, how you doing? Says your forehead. Well, thank you. I do got a big forehead. Move in silence. She says, oops. How you doing? Says, I just told you Demetrius cousin, never heard that. What up with the I try not to do it. I say little ass or something like that every once in a while. I apologize for that. Like for me, yeah, Claire, yeah, from Cali, said, come on, you better tell them we built like that. We will squabble up. I was gonna bring up another conversation, but my blood pressure already high, so I ain't gonna do that. Maybe for another time. Move in silence. Thank you so much for that. They approved a reparations agency in California. They approving means that Gavin Newsom signed it. We don't even really know what that means, right? What kind of agency or any of that. We have surmised that is just symbolism, because if they wanted to at a later date, they could add other people to it. So is it really for us? And what is it really for us? Ain't no money involved. It's an agency. Agency literally could be a building, right? Oh, the building for descendants of slaves. All right, there's some money in there, some desks, some chairs. Like, what's in there? So yeah.
Wait, are you talking about Dr. Umar and his buildings that he wants to call school? I'm just saying. No, it's the same thing. Everybody keeps saying it's a school. It's buildings. A school has books and students and administrations and stuff. Like you said, it's a building. That's all it is.
Yeah. I'm just reading your comments. And Eddie said, Dimitri, you look like the women in my family and you talk like the women in my family. That's DNA. Yeah. I'm a rebel rouser for sure.
Man, then you need to hurry and get up out that family, man, because I'm telling you, I'm joking.
Molly K says, if they wouldn't hide Black History American and were teaching in school, they wouldn't need to debate. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like I could debate any one of them, and hands down, and it'd be a short debate, because I learned knowledge of self at home. My mom and daddy didn't send me to school to learn who I am, right? Never, not one time. I've never heard nowhere in school, and I took, African American studies in school and all that kind of stuff, but I never heard the true knowledge of who I am. I heard some basic stuff, like most people, Martin Luther King. I think maybe they was barely talking about Malcolm X then, but Harriet Tubman type of stuff. Nothing wrong with them, but I never heard about Nat Turner. I never heard that, we was kings and queens from school. I never heard that from school. I heard that stuff at home, right? So, yeah, I mean, they know we don't really know for the most part, and they going with some basic stuff of what they understand in their little, supremacist, so to speak, circles. So they know how to get our blood up. Like, I'm not going to be arguing with them. I would look at them. If they talk about let's debate, I wouldn't even say nothing. I would just roll my eyes and keep on pushing. Or I might say go debate your mama or something, but that's about it. Yacobo, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Long time no see. Gary says the deep state is over. Okay. Frank says, right, those Charlie Kirk trolling isn't debating. You have to schedule debates. You have a neutral party mediation. Yeah, they just setting up a chair talking about, DEI. It's like, fool, that don't even pertain to us. So why are you here? Go to the white women's college and talk to them about DEI. Beverly, how you doing? Says Dimitri, I'm so proud of you and Donovan with your degrees. Well, thank you. I never even talk about my degrees. I be forgetting I have them, to be honest with you. Because in the larger scheme of things, they don't matter. I sometimes wish I didn't go get them degrees because they was expensive. Because you can learn so much without them, but I ain't gonna discount them altogether. They did help. Brother Samuel, how you doing? Says I think it was Dr. Ben that said I only are you with my equals everybody I teach. So that's John Henry Clark. Absolutely. Ishmael, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Rosande, what's going on? It says cut the check. Yep. Silky Danielle says that's someone who wants to be accepted. Yeah. Computer Blue, you say Demetri told that fool to shut his two lips. No, I ain't say all that last part you said. I'm a lady. I don't talk like that. African Native says FDMG is Marcus Garvey, HBCU. You know what? Moving silence. Moving silence. Thank you so much. Once again, says, oh, Gavin is fishing before the election. Wrong bait. He might be. It all remains to be seen, right? Miji, I hope I said that right. How you doing? Says, who's included in California reparations? What they're saying is specifically for descendants of slavery, but they could change the language to non-descendants if they want. But if you look at all the people who approved it, it was a lot of, Asian groups and things like that. So to me, I'm like, why would y'all be on board with that when y'all wasn't before? Because they can change the language, and will they change the language and they be included in that? And we know once they change the language, that means that don't mean we ain't getting none of that. They're going to get it. So we just got to know what we don't know. Money Green, how you doing? Says KRS One in public, and it taught my generation a lot about our oppression. And then what happened with that? What happened with that? They brought in the low-hanging fruit music, and, now that music is underground. You got to play that on your own and listen to all of that, right? I ain't heard that stuff on the radio nowhere. But yeah, a lot of us did. When I say us, I mean collectively learned a knowledge of self from the music. And then them folks was like, nah, we got to get them back to the crack and all this other stuff, right? And essentially that's what happened. Donovan and I are old enough. He's a lot older than me, but we were old enough back in the day, the concept of twerking. We did the freak and stuff like that, right? Or the nasty. Ooh, I'm dating myself now with the nasty, the dance. But all the stuff we see now and women walk around naked all the time, it would have just been weird when we were coming up. People wore clothes and things, and you did little dances that you probably didn't want your mama to see necessarily, but the stuff that they doing now and the things they talk about in the music, yeah, all this is by design. Where are the woke rappers? There's some, but they don't get the streams like everybody else does. So, and we fell for it, unfortunately. Scoop, thank you. You say debate.
Real quick. Well, what's the surefire way to destroy a community? You get to the women. You get to the women because the woman is the center of the community.
Yeah, you get to the women, and you also get rid of the man. You get to the women and you get rid of the man. So as a conglomerate of things as to why our community is the way it is, but you got to remember too, we have to fight for the unity that we did have after slavery, and of course they kept coming along and dismantling that, and now they don't even really need to do it necessarily. We are programmed to do it ourselves. And Scoop, thank you so much. It says debate. Now they want to mock and exploit us for profit, just like slavery. Y'all ain't learned. That's what I said. Why would you want to get on the auction block with them people and be arguing back and forth? They don't know what they don't know. They only know the little stuff they see on Fox News and Twitter. And and if they're going to an HBCU, they're supposed to be learning, right? Learning a whole lot of stuff. And I'm proud of those kids. The kids to me, right? For saying, man, get the hell out of here. We ain't going to be debating, y'all. Please. I'm glad that they didn't grant them that. I'm glad that they robbed them of that. Now, to that, they've gotten a lot of notoriety. These kids, these debate bros, they were sitting up at the press conference last week with Trump. A whole bunch of Twitter people talking about, oh, well, somebody said this to me and my life is in danger. They did this. And then Trump was like, well, Pam Bondi, she's going to get to the bottom of it. They're going to, you arrested people for saying something about you on Twitter and said somebody don't know your mama. But now they got to get locked up because you see what I'm saying? So this is kind of where we are now. So don't debate them people because you mess around, said something, and hurt their feelings, and Trump and Pam Bondi be on you. Terrence, how you doing? Says he's in the circle of Nancy Insider Pelosi, he's not going to do anything for us. I never said that he did. I'm just telling you what happened, on Friday. Princess Armani says, I'm young and the nakedness is too weird for me. It's just like, golly, young women don't own no pants. Like every time you see a performer, she ain't got no pants on. It's like, what happened to the pants?
Like I said, I don't really know a lot of these new young rappers and whatever, because the music is garbage in my opinion. But I saw a thing on YouTube. Who's this girl? She's a little cute girl, Sweetie. I guess she's doing Dubai, allegedly going to Dubai. I don't know what's going on. All of these stories that come out, and you're like, huh? What?
Hey, in fact, Black America, you better knock it off talking about nobody like KRS-One. You are nobody, okay? Because everybody I know like KRS-One. Yeah, my daughter was telling me something about that. It doesn't surprise me if she's a escort. In a sense, they are escorts, right? They putting on the fishnets and pantyhose for the industry. Because or the pumps rather for the industry, because where do you have to be in your mind? You got to remember the nature of the people that they get people who come from abject poverty and things like that, and tell them, hey, you're gonna make a lot of money. All you got to do now is talk about things of pink and brown that we shouldn't be hearing about. This pink and brown, right? So there's a lot of degradation in that, but the premise of that is to sell it to everybody else. Now this is where we got 10 more minutes or so. Thank you once again, Moving Silence. I appreciate that. Says some blacks got to check, the rest will fall for it. Yeah, they might, because people broke around here. I kind of want to have the Cardi conversation. I'm thinking about it. Brother Dion, you say, I understand if Newsom runs for president, but y'all don't find it suspicious that the California, not Alabama, Louisiana, or Texas, but California keep this reparation thing going like what they know. He says, this reminds me of when they took the Confederate statues down. Black people didn't ask for that and couldn't care less about a statue like they know they about to be found liable. I don't know. I think it's a conversation that's been had since they let our people off the plantation. We just ain't seen the checks. So it's a conversation that they're having, and it's this. They ain't handing out no checks until they do that. I don't think anybody should get excited about it, but we know why the red states don't do it, because they still mad that slavery's over. North, South, Yeah,
and speaking for California, I would say the reason why it's a big issue here in California, because it's so expensive to live here, and blacks have been systematically impacted and targeted here. They put a $6 billion stadium right in the heart of a historically black community district in the areas like that, right there in Inglewood, South Central California. And most of the black people there can't even afford tickets to the games. But the point is, with less than 6% of black people, we don't have a political voice anymore. So if you don't have a political voice, then you have no say so what goes on. So if you're going to be a black person to stay here, you better have a significant amount of money or a significant job that will keep you in the area. So you have to fight every day. Unlike the South. Now, I was born in the South. I have family down in the South. Like most of us, we all originated from somewhere down in the South, most of us. And I'm going to say this, in my observation of, my family, I believe a lot of blacks in the South are content. And when I say that, what I say by content is you're around mostly black people, your friends and your family, which makes you feel, really, good to go. You got your little job, you got your grandkids, everything is copacetic. So, it isn't much of a priority as long as you're, when a person's content, you'll be surprised at what they let go. But here in California, it's survival of the fittest. And this is why people are stepping on each other, and we're just constantly trying to get heard. And I don't know if you guys saw in the comments there, I put up my recent city council appearance. And I keep stressing this to you guys all the time. I don't care where you are in the United States. If you are not attending your school board meetings, if you are not attending your planning commission meetings, if you are not attending your city council meetings, that's where it starts. You will be surprised at what you find out when you actually attend those meetings and what gets approved and what doesn't get approved. If you don't have any money and you want to take your wife or your girlfriend out and you want some comedy night, go to your city council meeting. If I'm lying, ask Demetria. She'll tell you, go to city council meeting.
I was like, surely this is a joke. African Native, thank you for the donation. Love and appreciate you for that. Buckhorse says, DC, we're strong. Yeah. I was gonna just kind of touch on, I don't know if I want to, the whole Cardi B thing. I see a lot of criticism of Cardi B, and I've always said this. I don't care if it's Cardi B, it's Cardi F, B, G, Z. I don't care who it is. And I've always said this because I see a lot of people putting her in charge of influencing the women and the girls. I'm not saying she's not, but they're putting her at the helm of that. So those of us who know, we know that's by design. Okay. White artists, you don't see them doing that today. Women, right? The record industry, they might have some here or there, but they don't got the white artists, the women run around with everything flopping out and talking about how they want to do it, when they want to do it, with how many people. They don't do that to them. Latinos, I don't speak Spanish. I would imagine I don't hear a lot about it. I mean, I know some people say Cardi B, whatever, but I don't really hear them doing that to their women as much. So I say all that to say, if your child is influenced by Cardi B or any of those other women, Megan, any of them, that is not Cardi and Megan and whoever else's fault. It is your fault as a parent if your child is running around talking about her is pink and her booty hole is brown. Because how she know that song? Where's she at to where she's listening to that song? As I always say, I remember back in the day when I was a kid, adults, when they had a record or album or something they didn't want nobody to know they had, they put in a brown paper bag. They didn't say, hey, they talk about this is pink and this is brown and they about to do the get down. No, we didn't know. It was like, oh, maybe they mom and dad went to the store, right? We didn't know what it was. And so I say all that to say, if your child, whether it's a boy or a girl, is influenced by these nasty rappers or these drill rappers or whatever, that's your fault. Why is your child in front of a radio or TV or anything? Why are you listening to that type of music in front of your children? And then why is anything outside of you as their circle of influence, their mama or their daddy or their mama and their daddy, why is anything else more influential over your child than you? That's why I don't, like I said, I used to take the rap girls and stuff to task, but I stopped doing it because it ain't their fault. Again, a lot of people say, oh, well, Cardi B don't let her daughter listen to her music because she's smart. Madonna said the same thing. She at the one point in time was the filthiest woman on the planet. That pales in comparison to a lot of stuff we see now. But at one point in time, she was considered that she was censored by this, that, and the other. And she said, I don't let my children, I will not let my children watch TV or listen to radio. And they speak like 8, 9, 10 different languages. Now, some people might say, well, Madonna, that's hypocritical. Is it? Is it hypocritical that she making money and you a fool because you let your babies listen to her and she's smart enough to not let her babies be influenced by outside things outside herself? Who's really the fool? To me, it sounds like she got some sense. So we got to really stop and think about the things that we say. If your daughter or your son is running around trying to be like Cardi B, stick yourself. And then once you stick yourself, turn the radio off and turn the TV off. And if you want to listen to Cardi B as an adult, you do that when you're not around your children.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. Where they're listening to a lot of that music, these young kids, it's the same way we listen to the music that we listen to. Mom and dad in the car hitting those 4 tops and they're playing it. We're in the back listening, we're rocking and stuff like that. A lot of these mothers are twerking it up and city girling it up, just like the younger girls are doing. So that's where a lot of them are getting it from. And a lot of these younger mothers, or whatever you want to call them, don't think there's anything wrong with it. They don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I'm going to say this too. If that's how they want to raise their children and they don't think nothing's wrong with it, ain't got nothing to do with me. Now, I would that you wouldn't raise your children to think anything is okay with that, because a lot of things ain't for kids. See, there's no discretion anymore. When we were kids, there was discretion. There's things that kids just didn't do. We like, I don't know what my mom and daddy was watching when I went to bed. You know, I don't want to imagine what they were watching, but I don't know what they were watching because it wasn't for me to know that. I didn't know everything my parents was doing because I was a child. They kept things away from me. And when I became an adult, like somebody said about the 2 Live Crew, yeah, that was when I was in high school, but I didn't listen to that stuff around my parents because they'd be like, what the hell? I know you lost your mind, right? So even we had some sense, but the discretion is gone. The decency is gone, and we have to bring that back. But Donovan, I can't tell people what to do with their children. I just know that I didn't let my daughter hang around everybody. See, that's right. The difference.
Right, and that's why your daughter is a roving. No, she's very opinionated in herself, but very intelligent. But Demetria, you know, back in the day, late at night, that TV would go off as you hear the national anthem being played, and whatever. Unless you had a beta machine, then your parents had that little tape that they got with the brown paper bag. They put the beta machine.
And we didn't know the television went off until the weekend, right? Because we didn't get to stay up all day until our eyes were circling around and watch TV, right? We only knew that on the weekend where you could stay up a little late. But see, I tell people all the time, matter of fact, I said this years ago to somebody on Facebook. I said, when I was in high school, I had a bedtime. Well, what kind of parents did you have when I was?
10 o'clock was mine. Yep, 10 o'clock. What time was
yours?
10 o'clock. And I was in high school, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, mine was 9.
But
in theory, people think, oh, well, you know, that you got a bedtime. Yeah, because I was still a child, right? It wasn't to be up all night because you still had to get up and go to school and be conducive, right? Because, you know, when people don't get sleep, then, you know, they misbehave or whatever it is. So, yeah, I had a bedtime. Now, obviously, when I got a little older in high school, because I had a job, so I obviously wasn't in bed because I was working. But my parents set expectations on us. You know, didn't matter if I was in high school, you still have to abide by some rules, which is why, unfortunately, you see a lot of people with the kids unsupervised running around the streets. You don't know where your kids are. We didn't get to get down like that. You had to, because we didn't have no cell phones, no pagers until like high school, but we didn't have all of that. You have to check back in every so often. Donovan, did you have to check in?
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
she didn't have to comb the neighborhood for it because it was very rare because we were supposed to be where we said we're going to be at. So if my mom needed to get a hold of me and she called over there, I should be there. But I will say this, because, you know, we come from a different era. If I wasn't in the house by 10 o'clock, which was my curfew, whatever, the door was locked. And there were several times where I sat out late into the morning until my parents felt, you know, it was time for me to come in to know what's going on. But now, you know, these kids are coming in and going out the house whenever they want. Yeah.
No rules, just anything goes. Just do what you want. You know, kids falling out, you know, and going to sleep just when they fall out, you know. And like I said, I grew up with a lot of structure. My daughter grew up with structure. And I go to bed early to the day. Donovan to tell you, sometimes you call, like, boy, I'll sleep, you know, because I just go to bed early. Last night I went to bed at like 7:30, but and my daughter goes to bed early too. But I say all that to say, I mean, we got to get back to a society where there's some structure. We have to, you know, and I don't understand children who don't have bedtime, especially young children. Like, your kids are still up. Yeah, you know, they still, why? Like, you know, like for me, I would think as a parent, you want some me time, right? Okay, y'all go to bed so I can, you know, breathe without mama, please, mama this, mama that, mama this.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of crazy now. I know we're kind of getting a little bit, but I just want to add this. My mom was like a no-nonsense old school mom. I had a bed and a desk to do my homework, and that was pretty much it. If I wanted to play Atari or whatever we had, it was in the front room where my mom can see what it is that I'm playing and what I'm doing. And we know Atari wasn't like they have these games now. But the point of the matter was, everything we watched, my mom made sure it was something that was, you know, watchable. You know, we're big into the Andy Griffith, I Love Lucy, things that had things. But the point is, my mother always made sure we were watching what we're supposed to watch, and it met her approval. Now I see kids getting, these movies that are like horrific and just craziness to it. You know what I mean? It's just, and like you said, what do you tell that parent? And I'm going to say this, ladies, and I'm not admonishing ladies, but as much as you guys think I come down hard on women, it's the fact of the woman is the center of, if we're going to be successful or if we're going to fail, is all dependent on the women in our community. Because as the men go to war and go make work or whatever we got to go do, we depend on the woman to keep the community together. And if the women are just running at amok, and just doing what they want to do, our community, we're not lasting long. And we're seeing actually the effects of us not working together as a people, men and women not doing their part. A man has a role in a society, in our community, and the woman has a role in our community. Yes, relationships don't work out. We all get that. But that still does not absolve the man from not taking care of his responsibilities. That does not absolve the woman from not taking care of her responsibility. It's like a puzzle. Have you ever tried to take a piece that doesn't fit and force it in to a fit? It doesn't work. Everybody has a role, and we've got to play our roles. And that's the problem. The women want to be the men, and the men want to be the women. And that's what I think is the problem.
Facts and feelings. You said any society that centers women make women more equal than men, that society will eventually collapse.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. No, but we could never be equal no matter what you do about it. Demetra has lady parts. I have a man part. We will never be equal. I'm biologically stronger than her, so on and so forth. So we will never be equal by any standard.
Yeah, I mean, and as I heard a wise man say, God rest his soul, brother Gary Monroe, he says, when the men stand up, the women will sit down. I didn't say that. A man said it. And I said, you said a word there. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. Love and appreciate every last one of y'all. Jeanette says, I'm still not voting Democrat. Yeah, a lot of people aren't. Lolita says cartoons didn't have blood in them. Tom and Jerry, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, and etc. But you know what, though? They was kind of violent. If you think about it, they were. The cartoons were very violent. No blood, but dropping an anvil on somebody's head, that's kind of violent, right? And blowing somebody up. Because the Roadrunner blew up
pulling out a gun and just shooting
right in front of each other. Shooting you in the face. Bang. So the cartoons are very violent. So it's like, you think about the nature of cartoons. Were they priming us? And I would say, yeah, they were priming children to be, we always heard, especially when I was a kid, that we would become a society that's very desensitized, right? So you think about something like Tom and Jerry. As a kid, but as you become an adult, you're like, and it was blowing each other's heads off, and Wile E. Coyote was getting dynamites, and it was very
Three Stooges, hitting each other and stuff.
Right. All of that, yeah. So what were they really priming society to become? You think about it, especially in America. America is probably one of the most violent places on earth. There's violence all the time in America, and it's almost kind of like you see it on the news, you hear about it, like somewhere in South Carolina, somebody ran into a bar, and I think Friday night somewhere in Mississippi, shot up 20 people, killed a bunch of people, and it's like, oh wow, again? But back in the day, be like, what? Now it's just, again?
Yeah, but remember here in California, it was one of the first incidents of a mass shooting, kind of on a national scale. Remember that McDonald's here, like near San Diego? That McDonald's that got shot up and like 7 people got killed. Everybody was, it was on the news. It was like outrageous. And then you had the first high school that actually happened. And now it's like normal now. People have been programmed that, okay, another shooting, no big deal. Another this, another that. It's crazy. It is crazy where we're at today.
Yeah, T. Austin, how you doing? Since there's a lot going on. African Native says breathtaking violence in America. America's very violent. I mean, think about even the Come Up Chronicles. How you doing? You say Mystery Theater. You think about it. People get mad if you cut them off.
Yeah.
And follow you home.
Yep.
And won't do something to you, or even like Donovan here in Houston. I don't know if it's a Texas thing or it's a Houston thing. Probably, I don't know. the road rage is so crazy. I mean, like they found people. There's one guy's 18-year-old, sad story. He was slumped over in his car, and apparently somebody had shot him because I guess maybe cut him off or whatever. And I don't know if they ever found the people who did it, but it's like you shoot somebody to death over somebody cutting you off. So that's violence. Like, how did we get to that point to where you can't just take it on the channel? Okay, they cut you off. They probably had to get the exit or whatever it was. The donuts was, I don't know, whatever it was. Like that's violence.
Well, then you also got to remember the substance abuse that's going on in America. And I'm not saying if those of you guys that engage in tweeds and all that other stuff, that's your business. But the fact of the matter is, you got alcohol abuse that numbs and stumbs the brain. You've got these tweeds that are laced with whatever fentanyl, whatever that's doing all this other stuff. I mean, this stuff is just getting it. You know what? It's where it's supposed to be if you're a believer in the end times and all that other stuff. But I'm not surprised at what's going on. The glorification of weed and black culture. I think that is something that is intentional, because you don't see it in country music. I know they use it over there, but you don't see them glorifying it. It's like we're always targeted to do it ourselves. That's what gentrification is about. You let the violence happen. You let the graffiti, the vandalism, the prostitution, all the criminal, the liquor stores, the gun stores, put it all in the black community, and hopefully we'll all kill ourselves. And that has been proven true to this very day.
Yeah, so we just gotta keep educating. Yeah, our road rage is real. It's scary. I always tell my daughter, man, let these fools have it, because you don't know. Like I said, one of my favorite movies is Falling Down with Michael Douglas. Boy, I always think of that because you don't know who on their last leg of life or, mental capacity. You don't know, right? And they're like, today is my last day. And guess what? It's yours too. So.
Favorite part of Falling Down. What was your favorite part of Falling Down?
The whole movie. You know why I like
my favorite part, and I know you guys will agree with me. When he went into the restaurant and he looked at the burger, every time I go into a restaurant, the burger never looks like the picture, and I get pissed off.
Or the part when he needed to change to call his daughter, and the soda was more than he was just like, because he had to buy something, they wouldn't give him change, and then he couldn't they didn't give him enough change. He was like, listen, so he would just add his wits in, and I never forgot that movie, because to me the premise is you don't know what that person sitting next to you, or you don't know what they're going through, and they're a prime example. I know we going overtime. I don't know if y'all heard about that story. I think it was in Dallas. Dallas was two black women. One sister held the door open for another sister, but the sister who was walking through the door apparently didn't say thank you. So the one that was holding the door open, I guess, felt the way about it. It's like, basically, you can't say thank you. So it sounds like they got into it. There's at the 5 and below. They got into it there, and I guess it was squashed or whatever. So the lady who was holding the door open, her and her daughter walked next door to PetSmart. And so the one that didn't say thank you followed her over to PetSmart, and she got to, argue back and forth. And eventually, when the one that held the door open left the store, the one that didn't say thank you shot her to death. Shot her to death. She couldn't let it go. Now, in hindsight, maybe the lady could have just took it on the chin. Okay, she didn't say thank you. I ain't gonna take that personally. Whatever. I held the door open. I did a great thing. She still didn't deserve to be shot for, but she didn't know when that lady, and she was 22, the one that pewed her, she didn't know that lady was, not dealing with a fool. She didn't know that. She didn't know that was gonna be her last day when she said, "Man, you can't thank nobody." She didn't know that was going to cause the, you know what I mean? She didn't know that lady was going to be set off. Because some people, Donovan, they don't have the ability to let it go. And they just like, I'm going to get some revenge. Right. I'm not going to let it go. How dare you tell me I need to say thank you? Took her life. Took this lady's life. Because you can't say thank you. So we got to get to a point where we exercise. Albert, how you doing? Says people are okay. We got to get to a point where we exercise some emotional intelligence. Now, before we leave, Sweet Daddy Kool-Aid, how you doing? I don't know if y'all saw this other case. Now, I want to be careful because I know people be mistaking your girl, and I don't mean it to be this way. Jacksonville. I don't know if y'all saw it. Donovan, I sent it to you, but I don't know if you saw it. There's a sister got hemmed up by the po-po. She went to pick her child up from school. Okay. Now, the video that we saw was a bystander of the police and her fighting. So the one we saw, he was putting her in handcuffs. And then she was, trying to get away from him. She squared up with him like that, right? So eventually he got her and tackled her down to the ground and all kind of stuff. So I actually saw that Ben Crump had posted it with no contacts or anything. So people's like, man, like, what's the deal? Because and Ava DuVernay, she says, okay, y'all post this stuff to enrage us. And she says, I'm enraged. But what am I supposed to do with it? What happened? Who is she? Like, give us the details. Y'all just posting stuff and we're just pissed off. So my sister lives in Jacksonville. My sister's a teacher and she knows a lot of police officers, as she had a boyfriend for a very long time who was part of JSO and all that. So she's kind of connected. So I asked her about it. She goes, yeah, I heard about it. She says, but there's a longer version of that. And so I went and saw it. They showed the police, the police, when they don't never release the body cam unless they vindicated to some degree. So they released the body cam. What happened was, and the police, the sheriff, he's a brother, he spoke to it. He says, what had happened was, and they showed the video from his body cam, she parked illegally. I guess she had parked on the near where the kids cross on the grass, left her car on, got out to go get her child, and the officer, he was in his car when he saw her. So he gets out and was like, hey, basically, you can't do that. And she was like, well, I'm just going to get. He says, all right, give me your license. Now I'm just going in there to go get my woo. So from that point, it got crunk and disorderly. Now, so then they showed the other vantage point. I'm going to tell you, this lady bit the hell out of this man. Like, you could see, even when they was wrestling, all her teeth marks was in his arm, and a whole host of stuff, right? Now, I want to say this too. I don't think that lady should have been beat up, or however they say the cop didn't do nothing wrong. Okay, this is what they're saying. He didn't do nothing wrong. I don't think she deserved that, because it was hard to watch. But as I got more information, I said, you know what? See, to me, the better conversation is sister. And then they found out that the lady had a restricted license, so she wasn't supposed to be driving, had 4 other traffic infractions. Okay? To me, one of the better conversations would have been, sister, your child is about to be traumatized because of your mouth and your attitude. You riding dirty, because the argument is all the children are traumatized. As I go back to the argument by Cardi B, who is to care more about my child being traumatized, me or somebody else? Now, when a man told her she shouldn't have parked there, whatever, from the gate, she should have said, okay. But she was going to have it her way. Now, not only that, okay, there's 3 other people that's going to jail. They arrested 2 other people because Florida just enacted a law where you have to be 25 feet away from an officer. You can film, but you got to be 25 feet away. Now, there's a lady who's 59 and another lady who's like 32. They got arrested because they was, saying different things to the officer, calling them all kind of names, and they got too close. And they said that was the first time that law has been used on somebody since that law was enacted at the beginning of this year. Another person will be going to jail when they find him is a youth. They said he's young because he threatened to pew up the school behind what happened to the lady.
Terroristic threats. They just pull all these things out.
So I'm saying it was a chain reaction when you could have just, for one, you knew you shouldn't have parked there. I'm not, again, don't mistake me. I'm not saying the lady deserved that, but a lot of that could have been avoided, sister. If you would have said, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't be parked. Let me go move my vehicle. You know what I'm saying? So, and the other thing is, before we leave, it's unfair to your Philando Castiles and all the other people who didn't even get a chance to utter a word whose very life was snatched from them from police brutality, right? And so, unfortunately, sometimes those conversations get mixed. Oh, I need to see the whole video. And then, you know what, like George Floyd, there's a lot of people who justify what happened to him. That's unjustifiable. And again, I'm not saying what happened to, because she got her whooped. Okay. I'm not saying it's justifiable, but there's a chain reaction to a lot of things. It's like, and then even her daughter was like, Mama, stop, Mama, stop, Mama, stop. It's like your child is telling you to stop. Other people kept telling you to stop, and you didn't stop. You know what I'm saying? So I know some people don't want to hear that. I'm just saying sometimes we really just gotta take a moment, just really just kind of think. That's all I'm saying.
And let me add this. I know we gotta go. Let me add this. Yeah, when dealing with law enforcement, there's a thing called like mutual conversation, whatever, where, you know, he's just talking, you're just talking, it's mutual conversation. But if a cop ever comes up to you just asking questions, they're conducting an investigation at that point. And if you do not want to participate, you can just say, hey, I want to break contact and go away. But a lot of people don't know that. You think you're just getting in this mutual conversation with this guy. And then next thing you know, you say something that goes into his investigation. And now you're a part of it. And then he could detain you and all this other stuff. So be very careful when you walk, you know, and you interact with a police officer. Nothing against I have family members that are police officers, but even my cousin Brittany, I always got to tell her, is this on record or off record? Because it is what it is. And this is how they get down in the system. But again, this all goes back to knowing your basic laws as a citizen of the United States. A lot of us, we watch too many damn movies, watch too many damn TV shows, and we think, oh, you know, it's like the TV show. It's not. I do not, me personally, Dimitri will tell you, I do not interact with police officers. Don't do it. Won't say nothing. I leave it alone. I just leave me alone. Now they can stop me, whatever. You know, you do what you got to do in that aspect, but they are looking to it's not an interrogation, but when they're asking you questions, they're not doing that for no reason, because they got other things they could be doing. So why are they asking you a question?
Yeah. And RC says, oh yeah, I saw the video. She hadn't parked her car where she was supposed to, and they said it was still running. So she just going, you know, I'm gonna get out, do what I want type thing. So Amanda Seales showed it and accused the black men of standing around without intervening. You know, I'm gonna say this too, because this part pisses me off. It really does. What black man want to take his behind the jail behind a hard-headed woman? Right? Like at some point in time, we got to stop the lunacy. Y'all gonna make these men get you know, whatever may happen to them and go get catch a charge because you could have just not parked there. And then when the man told you not to park there, you like, well, I'm just going in. Why would anybody, and I'm not saying you saying it's arson, but you don't blame black men. You know, when that black man's probably like, listen, I just came to get my damn kids from school. I didn't come here to be having no rock'em sock'em with no police officer, which I'm going to go to jail. My woman waiting for me to come home, and she making some gumbo or whatever she do. I'm not trying to be going to jail when this lady could have just complied. Again, I'm not saying that lady deserved all of that, but why blame black men? Like they surely they couldn't tell her not to do it because there was a black man there. He was an administrator at the school. He was just kind of, I won't say he was helping the cop, but he was trying to comfort her and basically saying, hey, you know, like, chill out, because the lady was bloody from rolling around, and you know, and he, you know, it was a lot. It's hard to watch, but to blame brothers for that, what I'm not saying brothers shouldn't intervene with most things, but this, nobody was gonna win that. You can't beat up on a cop, especially when he gave you a directive. It wasn't for debate. It was a directive. You can, and he's a school. It wasn't. They didn't call him a school resource officer. They say he was acting in the capacity of an officer since they had that mass shooting at the high school a couple years back. Said they had him there for that. But that man gave you a direct order that you felt like you didn't need to obey. And now some black man supposed to risk his livelihood and his life and say, damn my child and family, because you are sassafras and you can't shut your mouth.
Right. A strange black man. A black man protects what's his. That's, ladies, I know you guys don't want to hear that, but I'm just telling you, as a man, a black man protects what's his. I'm not arbitrarily going to put myself out there for somebody I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, he couldn't. She wasn't listening to no man. So what? I mean, you know, what is that? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says we can't protect. What is it? What is it? We can't. Basically, we can't protect. Basically, what won't listen to us or whatever it is, right? And I know I messed it up, but that's the premise of it. So my thing is, if a brother couldn't tell her, "Hey, sister, knock it off, stop, wait, you're not gonna win this, you're going to jail," she wouldn't listen to that. He jump on the cops' back, and then nobody want to be in prison over no hard-headed ass woman.
Right, and I'll give you guys a good example. Demetra, that's it. Show's over. Let's go.
Peace. Yeah, we've been on here too long. And 3 minutes of Black Empowerment. Thank you so much for that, love. Appreciate you. We've been on here. We went back to the old school, right? Almost 2 hours. Anyway, we love it. Appreciate y'all. I will be back here tomorrow. Donovan's always more than welcome to join me if he wants, but I'll be back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. And thank y'all for everything. In the meantime, have a great rest of your evening. Peace.